So let's be honest here. For this week's video, I've chosen about as vague of a topic as I possibly could. So for the sake of clarity, let me make these two disclaimers. One, I had to put D&D in the title because that's what the YouTube algorithm likes. But the things I'm going to be discussing here apply to any tabletop RPG, or any fun activity that typically implies or requires vulnerability with friends. Two, the term special, especially in the context of a game table, is incredibly subjective. There is literally no way I can give you a magic formula that will make your game special to every single person. This is just me laying out my thoughts on what makes a game mean something to your group. And meaning could be anything from having heart-wrenching moments of vulnerability to laughing your ass off at a stupid NPC named Jimbo the Himbo. So, that being said, everything I say today is objectively my subjective opinion. I just hope it rings true to some. Now, all disclaimers out of the way, D&D has been a passion of mine from the moment I found it. It's been a way to express creativity, emotion, vulnerability, and passion in ways I just wasn't able to before. I've always been a storyteller from the day I could speak a coherent sentence. In fact, when I was younger, I would make up fantastical stories in my mind just so I could share them with my younger brother late at night, far past our bedtime. D&D introduced me into a way I could share those memories with others while also having them help create them. And that was just everything I could have ever asked for. I want to talk today about why this hobby has attracted so many incredible and talented people and been a place for them to feel safe and learn more about themselves and others. I want to talk about the power of a special D&D game. So let's talk about that. I can quite literally pinpoint the first time I realized how special this hobby was going to be to me for the rest of my life. See, the first campaign I ever ran was one I DM'd. Me and a group of friends suddenly decided that we were going to try out D&D for the first time. We went to our local game store, picked up the starters pack of D&D with Lost Mines of Phandelver, and quickly determined that I was going to be the first DM, as I had experience in writing and also wanted to be an aspiring voice actor. Not that the voice acting thing ever got that far. And that was it. It was New Year's Eve, and I spent the majority of New Year's Day reading the rules so that I could DM our very first session that night. And we had our first session, had some fun, and moved on. Later we played again, and at some point we got far enough into the module that it had gone past the point that I had read, and as they all asked me questions about a place I had no context for and had not read about, I decided in a panic to discreetly toss the adventure module to the side of the room and just make up some random stuff. Total improv. And that was what happened for the rest of the adventure too. I took the little bit I could remember from the module and I just ran with it, making up my own stuff anytime I couldn't remember something, just making up random NPCs, literally just filling in the blanks. This led to a massively warped and incorrect version of the story, and in the end, they ended up accidentally getting sucked through a portal to a different plane, and half the party was trapped on the other side as it slammed to a close.
Uh-oh, that wasn't supposed to happen.
It was intense, dramatic, exciting, and I remember looking around the room as the session ended and I saw a group of friends having fun. They were smiling and excited, talking fervently about everything they had just experienced and what they would do next session, and it was only because they had chosen to be invested in a story they didn't even know I was making up on the spot. That moment let me know that this game was special, and it remained that way. The campaign continued on for 2.5 years and involved a totally homebrewed setting I had made from a totally homebrewed adventure, involving a bard who had stolen/borrowed the voice of a god to give him the power to summon up a kraken and attempt to take over the country they were in, a lich who had separated her souls into 4 different bodies as different phylacteries, and eventually even Tiamat herself attempting to be released from her prison and only barely being beaten back by the heroes and entire armies so that they could seal her away once again. But for all those events, while fun, it wasn't what made the game special to me. It was a group of people I was with who chose to invest in this story and make it something they cared about as well. See, when looking at what makes a game special to you, you have to take a look at who's at the table with you. I've played with a few different groups over the years, and while a lot have been fun, it's been 2 groups in particular that I've played with that have truly created special games. And the common tie between those two is that both groups had people who felt some real emotion in those stories. It might seem obvious and, quite honestly, a little too obvious, but because tabletop RPGs are about collaborative storytelling, they just can't be special without the people around the table with you. But just having people around you doesn't really make a game special, does it? In fact, just having a group of people you trust doesn't make the game special either necessarily. Again, this is all my opinion, but what makes a game special to me is a group of people who are on the same page about being invested, and investment looks like totally different things. In one of my groups, the players show investment in entirely different ways, by obsessing over the next level to be the most thematic possible based on the current story, or drawing art of each character and the fun interactions they have, to even keeping detailed notes and detailing the exact calendar day they spend in game, so they know how long the group has been together, and much more. Essentially, they're all on the same page about their investment, but it's investment in different forms. And that's not just because I'm like the best DM ever. No, it's because they are some of the best players. It takes a commitment to care that much, and they chose to do that. And that goes across both of the groups I'm talking about here. This is where the importance of a session 0 comes in as well, because it's in a session 0 that allows everyone to sit around a table and decide what it is they're going to get excited about. What kind of game do they want to play? Gritty and real? Dramatic and intrigue? How about guts, blood, and glory? All are entirely valid ways of playing, but each one can only be special if each person at the table looks at it and goes, yes, this is the story I would like to tell with all of you. This is a story I'd like to share. And that's just it, isn't it? It's about finding out what kind of story your group wants to tell, and then doing that. Because at the end of the day, the story your group wants to tell, I think, is an amazing look at the things that we're all currently going through. I found that the themes of a campaign often mirror what the group is dealing with in real life. And that's just what art and expression is all about. It's about communicating the thoughts and feelings inside we can't quite communicate in other ways, and over the course of any campaign I've completed, I found that when I look back and observe it, I can directly see the parallels of what happened in-game and the struggles me and my players were overcoming during that time. Now, am I saying that in order for a game to be special, it has to be therapy? No. Absolutely not. No matter what the memes say, D&D just is not a substitution for professional therapy. If you need that kind of help, please don't be afraid to reach out. But what D&D can be is an ability to express outwardly what you're struggling with in a controlled environment. A healthy environment where it can't really hurt you and your friends are there to support you. And you can always take a step back and realize that right now, this is just a game. This time, you have the power to step away and breathe to help you recuperate and step right back in with renewed vigor. And with your friends also by your side, creating an amazing story. Now, I do want to add a disclaimer here and make it very clear that when you are playing D&D, it is not an opportunity to just thrust your problems upon other players. But when everybody is at a table and you're all playing a game, oftentimes the lens of what we're dealing with helps us see what's going on in D&D differently. If I'm dealing with the loss of a loved one, if an NPC dies, that's going to hurt me so much more. It's going to be a lot more visceral. And at the same time, if I'm dealing with a betrayal in my life, and I feel like one of the other PCs is going to betray my character, that might hit me a lot harder. It's important to recognize that what we're doing at a tabletop game is not thrusting our problems upon everybody else, but instead understanding that what's going on in our lives is going to influence how we can see the game. And when you have a group of people that you can trust, a group of people who you can rely on and know that they're not going to hurt you intentionally, that way you can explore that in-game, while knowing that you are not going to be attacked for it outside of the game. I know this is a very touchy topic, and I am not asking anybody to just start thrusting their problems on everyone. But I am asking everyone to recognize that what makes a D&D game special is it adds context of what's going on in our lives. And what's going on in our lives can add context into a D&D game. And that could be a really special way of sharing your life, your experiences, and your emotions with the people around the table who you care about. So all this rambling aside, what is it that I actually think makes a game at your table special? It's memories. Memories of fun, of serious moments, of genuine emotion, of a group of people choosing to come back over and over to create and craft a narrative together and to build upon it with bright smiles and probably a lot of screaming at dice. When a campaign ends, you don't usually have anything to look back on, except your memories. There's no treasure at the end, no tangible reward, just an amazing, wonderful, heart-provoked story that you will always have as a way to remember a great time and a time capsule to remember of just what you dealt with and everything you overcame during that time in your life. I think D&D is an amazing thing because it lets us go and explore parts of ourselves and parts of the people around us. It lets us connect to things we didn't really realize were there. And I usually talk off a script. Right now, I'm not looking at anything. I'm just speaking of pure, raw emotion, because this is how I genuinely feel. I've been able to connect to my friends in ways I never could in the past and learn things about myself. And is D&D a substitute for actual genuine friendship? No, but it's an amazing supplement to it. It's an amazing way to be able to explore who we are as humans and what we care about, and more importantly, what change we can make to the world around us in the most beautiful and amazing ways. So, go make new memories, you beautiful bastards. Live life to the fullest and know that every time you sit down with that special group of friends to craft an amazing narrative, you're doing so to hold those memories for the rest of time. Thanks for coming. Don't forget to have a great day and never forget to play your role. Thank you. Come again.